explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
Welcome, Badlands fam, to the very first episode of MAHA Living. This is our supplemental show to MAHA News. These videos are going to be pre-recorded for time and brevity's sake because we're going to be doing a bit more dry research in these ones, right? Focusing on topics, a singular topic at a time, something pertaining to health, wellness, exercise, fitness, maybe industry information as well, nutrition, pharma, supplement, industry info. But very first episode, MAHA Living. What is up, Nate?
Dude, I am so jacked to be starting this. That, you know, when you and I first started, like, we were diving into these topics pretty deep, and then MAHA was born. And we're like, oh, dude, like there's so much happening there. We got to keep track of it. So the fact that we're launching this is awesome. This is where I think we're going to really make a good difference. As far as how I'm doing, I'm a little under the weather today, dude. So, you know, like we're always talking about sardines. I love a good can of sardines. Well, the other day I was like, I'm going to get adventurous and try some smoked oysters. That was not a hit. I'm pretty sure I got food poisoning.
That microbiome, bro.
Yeah, that microbiome took a hit.
Speaking of topic for today's episode, right. You know, it's pretty cool how our show has kind of evolved over the years. I mean, originally I called it the Conscious Strength Show on Badlands, but it's way too tough to do it alone. You hopped on awesomely as a co-host, and I think we were still calling it the Conscious Strength Show at the time, but then it was just much better to call it MAHA News. And we were focusing so much on MAHA News because, you know, RFK Jr., Marty McCarty, they've all been kicking ass. But we've been wanting to do content sort of diving into topics. And it's really tough on MAHA News to go in between focusing on topics, but also focusing on the news and going back and forth just didn't work out. So shout out to Spetzel. Came up with the great idea to do MAHA Living. And now here we are. So the first episode, we're going to dive into the microbiome. This is something that, speaking of RFK Jr., Dr. Marty McCarty at the FDA, they've been speaking about, sounding the alarm about the importance of the microbiome, something they've been discussing since sort of the MAHA movement was born about a year ago. And there's a lot of research finally coming out sort of proving it. Now, I learned about the importance of our gut bacteria, our flora, not just in our bodies, but in the environment. I mean, I learned about this like 15 years ago in the very beginning of my sort of natural health research. But of course, the mainstream health institutions and authorities never really discussed it. Now, over the past couple of years, we have, of course, RFK, MAHA, they're discussing it, and we're finally getting studies about it.
Yeah.
Like it's almost as if science moves about 10 to 15 years slower than common sense most of the time. But
that's true.
Yeah. But we're finally getting the studies to, I guess, make us feel better about our beliefs and prove it to us.
Well, and
we knew all along.
It's the studies which are huge, and there's also a lot of focus. You know, like if you listen to a lot of the people that were behind the MAHA movement, a lot of them are pointing to, hey, like the most exciting research right now that's coming out is in relation to the microbiome. So I think that we're just like the stuff that you and I looked at 10, 15 years ago and that we've known about. I think like if you were to look at that on a scale, like all of the importance of that, like, yeah, it's key foundational to a healthy life. But I think what we've seen is just on the bottom. I can't wait to see what this research will reveal over the next 5 to 10 years.
Right. And the studies are important because that's what sort of proves it to the mainstream public, proves it to the normies. But also that's what sort of lays the foundation of more research into creating better supplement products and better nutritional guidance and better. So the studies are important. I don't mean to rag on them, but my point is that it's a lot of this we kind of already knew, but now we're getting the finer details and we're beginning to try to influence policy and influence private industry with this kind of information. So
yeah. And what that means to us individually, like how's it going to show up in your life? It's like as each one of these things come out that about the microbiome, I think along with that will be how to influence the microbiome. And instead of just vague things that we hear like eat fermented foods, like there might be targeted approaches to dealing with cancer through targeting specific areas of the microbiome, which I am all about that instead of doing, radiation or one of the other nasty three.
Right. And then we can figure out exactly which bacterial strains are doing what.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of still somewhat vague. We know the lactobacillus probiotic strains more influence our stomach. We know the bifidobacterium strains are more influencing kind of the lower colon, but we'll figure out which strains do what. And then again, like you said, influence maybe targeted approaches to health. Maybe private industry will come out with better supplement products. It'll be cool. So let's get into some nitty-gritty information. The microbiome are microorganisms within our body, specifically the digestive system, but we do have bacteria, good and bad, on our skin and in our scalp and elsewhere, but it's mainly the digestive system, as well as microorganisms in our soils. So the microbiome we're going to be talking about today is not just in our gut, but also in the soils that influence the health and resilience of the plants, which influence the amount of nutrition in the plants and how much we can get from each crop. It's all very linked. So microbiome in the environment is just as, if not more important than in our guts. And the microbiome performs specific functions such as vitamin synthesis, healthy skin balance, quote, education, as they call it, of our immune system, basically regulation or balancing of the immune system, and also neurotransmitter production. That bacteria in your gut is super important for so many different things. Soil microbiome influences nutrient recycling and plant resilience. And if our gut bacteria were put on a scale, it would weigh about 4 pounds. So
wow. Dude, I did not know that. That's wild.
There's actually more cells in your meat suit that are not of your body. So you have more bacteria cells in your gut than you actually have functioning cells of your body. Trillions. There's trillions of microbiome little critters in and around our body. And the ideal ratio in and on the body is about 80 to 90% good bacteria to 10 to 20% bad bacteria. There's always going to be a fight in our bodies with good and bad bacteria and also bad fungus. Yeah. So ideally, we want that ratio to be about 80 to 90% good bacteria. When that ratio starts falling, that's what impacts our immune system. That's what gives you food poisoning after you eat oysters. That's what, that's what can influence also skin issues, skin rashes, dandruff, things like that. Is too much bad bacteria or bad fungus on the skin influences infections in the body as well. Too much bad bacteria. So you want to really take care of the microbiome of your body.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look at a few more notes here. Your gut microbiome, you can think of it, it's analogous to a garden. You have bacteria, viruses, fungi in and around your body. And how it works, kind of split it up into these three areas. You got your digestion crew, your defense squad, and your communication hub.
Right.
So the digestion crew breaks down the foods that you can't. Defense squad crowds out harmful germs and trains the immune system to spot invaders. And the communication hub of your microbiome sends signals to the brain via nerves and chemicals, affects mood and hunger. As we'll see in a moment, There are neurotransmitters actually made in your gut, and there's something called the GBA, the gut-brain axis. You might have heard of the vagus nerve before, which is a nerve pathway that connects your gut directly with your brain. So better bacteria, better microbiome in your gut means better mood.
Yeah. Isn't there, like they say, like our gut actually contains more neurotransmitters than our brain does?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's a thing.
I believe that is a thing. Now let's listen to a couple of clips here from RFK Jr. and Marta Makari talking about the microbiome.
There's an entire emerging body of science that links microbiome to mental health, what they call the gut-brain connection. There's these extraordinary studies that have been done in prisons and juvenile detention facilities where they change the foods, and the results are extraordinary. In one juvenile detention facility, and this is pretty typical, the suicide rates went down by 100%. The use of restraints went down by 75%.
When they just changed
when they just changed the diet. There's a professor at Harvard who's curing schizophrenia with dietary changes, and violence went down in prisons by 47%. So one of the things that we're urging governors to do is to look at these areas and to do what they can to start changing the diets in the schools.
Man, I was in the grocery store the other day, and there was this kid in the shopping cart. His mom was pushing the cart, and this kid was just screaming at the top of his lungs, throwing a fit. And I looked in the cart, judging people's shopping carts like I always do in the grocery stores, and just trash, just garbage in it. And I really wanted to say something, but I didn't want to be that guy. I wasn't that guy. But if we want to influence the mood and the anger management and the anxiety and depression of our youth, the diet is the most important aspect right there.
I remember reading a story about a young kid who was just completely, for lack of a better term, unhinged. And he couldn't spend any amount of time inside of school. He was extremely violent, was in and out of different facilities. And I can't remember who the doctor was that was telling the story, but they found that, I believe it was copper, like the copper levels inside of his body were crazy high. And I'm sure that has something to do with not only his diet, but his microbiome as well. And so it just shows, that's just one small example, or what RFK is talking about, the impact that the foods that we consume, what we're actually eating, has on like our physical reality. And so you have unruly kids, and crap diets and too many screens. It really translates into a difference in quality of life. Like, you look at that kid, if he would have been fed a decent diet, and had the proper microbiome, proper health, imagine how different his teenage years or adult life would have been versus, making those decisions and living with the consequences of a bad diet.
100%.
It's massive.
Responsibility of the parents. And unfortunately, a lot of these parents, they just don't know.
Yeah.
And totally. So we have another clip here from Marta Makari saying we need to treat the microbiome with the respect it deserves.
We also know that the microbiome is producing things central to health. It makes vitamins, it makes clotting factors, it makes serotonin, which is involved in mood. You've heard of serotonin. 90% of your body's serotonin is made in the microbiome. What's happening when we alter the microbiome in the modern world? Antibiotics can carpet bomb parts of the microbiome, resulting in overgrowth of one type of bacteria. And a study out of the Mayo Clinic that was recently published showed that kids who took antibiotics in the first 2 years of life had a higher rate of chronic diseases, from allergic rhinitis to obesity, compared to kids who did not have exposure in the first 2 years. Why is that? Well, it may be because their microbiome has been altered. Now, the average 2-year-old has already received over 2 courses of antibiotics in their brief 2 years, sometimes in the first day of life, just as a precaution. And we're now trying to have better antibiotic stewardship. But we're not treating the microbiome with respect, and it may be because we don't really understand the microbiome, but there's no research in the microbiome, very little research. I talked to the microbiome unit at the NIH. It was like a couple people. This is like the frontier in health.
Amazing.
And what's crazy is, like, if you think, oh, I've only done antibiotics once in my life, there's studies that show one course of antibiotics can have a permanent impact on your gut microbiome.
Yeah, back many years ago when I worked at the supplement and nutrition store, all the time, almost a daily occurrence. People would come in, sinus infection, cold, flu, something like that. And I began to start asking them every single time, have you done antibiotics recently? And more often than not, people would say, yeah, like it was within the last few months, they'd done a round of antibiotics for something. And even a 5-day round of antibiotics would destroy their gut flora to a point where their immune system was just wrecked for months and months. So my usual suggestion was, okay, you're coming off a week of antibiotics or whatever. You're going to do a week of this incredibly strong probiotic to rebalance and get that gut flora set. And then after that week, we'll go down to sort of a maintenance dose for like a month or two. And then we'll see how you feel. And most of the time, a lot of their immune issues would get wiped out. And some people just felt so good, they would continue taking sort of a probiotic long term. And yeah, getting back into our slides here. Let's keep talking about the body microbiome before we get into the soil. So factors impacting the body microbiome: ultra processed foods, refined grain and sugar, feed not only bad bacteria, but fungus, Candida albicans in the gut. And fungus is probably a whole separate topic, but it is linked to gut flora, good and bad bacteria balance, because that bad fungus just loves sugar. It'll thrive on sugar and it'll reduce the amount of good bacteria in the gut. So got to handle that flora as well.
There was a naturopathic doctor that I worked with quite a bit. Awesome guy. I learned a lot from him. And one of the first things that he did whenever he was taking on a new patient is he would look at their toenails. And he could tell by what the toenails look like whether a person had an abundance of Candida or not inside of their system. So if you got some funky toenails, like they're super thick or they're very brittle, or you got ridges, lines inside of them, those are all kind of like warning indicators that your body is struggling with that.
Psoriasis and eczema linked to Candida, overgrowth of fungus in the body as well. Dandruff and dry skin could be the result or a symptom of overgrowth of Candida in the body. So yeah, that'd be a good episode to do in the future, is fungus. Another factor impacting body microbiome, taking antibiotics, as we just talked about, especially with no probiotic regimen afterwards. Pharmaceuticals, ingested chemicals, over-sanitization of body and living spaces, especially since COVID. COVID made a lot of people paranoid and freaked out, and they were sanitizing everything. And the issue is, if you over-sanitize with bacteria killers, antibacterials, you're killing both bad and good bacteria. Mm-hmm. So you can dry out your skin. You can, if you are constantly... We need some bacteria. Your immune system needs some practice time and again. So
yeah,
I'm of the belief that, I don't use hand sanitizers at all. And, I do wash my hands, of course, but not that much. And it doesn't bother me because immune system needs some practice. Also,
sorry, before we go on, it's just, it's wild because there's actual studies that show that, like, when you dig your hands into a healthy soil, there are transmitters from your skin that send the signal from the bacteria in the soil and basically transmit a happy mood. There's chemical processes that trigger that all through your skin and the microbiome that you're touching. So.
Yeah, grounding too. Chemical signals and electrical signals.
True.
Chlorinated water sources also impact the microbiome. Municipal water, not just the fluoride, but the chlorine they put in there. is gnarly. And then we're drinking that. That's getting right into our gut. And that chlorine over time, bit by bit every day, if we're drinking municipal water, kills all bacteria, both good and bad. So, and then mental stress, of course, as we were talking about that gut-brain axis, as you mentioned, Nate, most of the neurotransmitters are made in your gut. And as Makari said, 90% of the serotonin in our body is made in the gut. So if you are mentally stressed out, that'll impact your gut. And if your gut is terribly balanced, that'll impact your brain. So it's a two-way street there.
Yep. Yeah. As somebody who personally struggles with, I used to think it was gluten intolerance. So we'll just put myself back in that place. Whenever I would consume something that was carb heavy, a lot of gluten, or the basically the glyphosate that's sprayed on it, I could always tell the following 2 days is my mood would be severely dampened, and I'd struggle with depression, anger, anxiety, those sorts of things. Like, it was a direct correlation. So that is 100% accurate.
You know about Van Man taking down big toothpaste with all natural oral care, right? It's the perfect time to grab the Dental Care Bundle 2 gift. Van Man's tooth powder is loaded with minerals like eggshells and bone, and combined with pulling oils and peppermint aloe mouth rinse, it's truly the ultimate fluoride-free dental hygiene bundle that saves you 25% off the individual prices. And the Van never stops. Introducing Van Man's new Pearl Eye Cream and Sweet Onion Shampoo. Head over to badlandsmedia.tv/VanMan to see what's new. That's badlandsmedia.tv/VanMan.
Accurate.
There you go. Just a couple of quick studies. The new emerging science that they're finally looking at. UCLA Health, if you want to boost immunity, look to the gut. 70% of the immune system is located in the gut, where diverse bacteria is best. And that statistic aligns with what I was hearing from these supplement companies and the naturopath doctors I'd get trained from many years ago. Is about 50 to 70, 80%, like a good amount. Most of the immune system is run out of the gut. Here's a PubMed study I found. The interplay between the gut microbiome and the immune system in the context of infectious diseases throughout life, and the role of nutrition in optimizing treatment strategies. So this PubMed study sort of confirms 70 to 80% of immune cells are present in the gut, and there's an intricate interplay between the intestinal microbiota, the intestinal epithelial layer, and the local mucosal immune system. Science. And then on the neurotransmitter issue, gut microbiota modulates neurotransmitter and gut-brain signaling. Neurotransmitters, including 5-HTP, 5-hydroxytryptamine, dopamine, and GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, are essential transductors in the gut-brain axis, and accumulating evidence suggests that the gut microbiota modulates intestinal neurotransmitter metabolism and gut-to-brain signaling. So pretty much everything having to do with cognition, the gut plays at least some part in.
Yeah.
Some part in. Parkinson's, depression, anxiety, addiction, neuropsychiatric diseases. So there is that. Now let's bring up how to improve the body's microbiome.
I would say, sorry, one last thing before we dive into this is anyone that is thinking about using something like TRT or the female version of that to influence hormone function, address gut function first, because the microbiome plays a key role in how your hormones are utilized and distributed.
Great suggestion.
Yeah.
Also, if you're feeling sick and poopy, you can, that's just another thing to think about. Vitamin C, great. Oregano oil, great. Colloidal silver, great. But also medicinal mushrooms, reishi lion's mane, great. But also probiotics, gut microbiota. It's another thing to think about if you're constantly getting sinus infections or colds or flus. How to improve the body microbiome. Proper diet, focusing on healthy fats and fibers. So the good bacteria in the gut utilize essential fatty acids, omega-3s, as a food source, and also undigestible fibers that are now called prebiotics. Prebiotics is kind of a buzzword in the natural food and supplement space these days, but I guess they just came up with a name for it. 10, 15 years ago, I never heard of the word prebiotics. It wasn't used, but I'd say over the past 5 years or so, now you can find prebiotics as kind of a buzzword on food packaging and supplement packaging, but they just named the non-digestible fibers that act as a food source for good bacteria. So some of these prebiotics, one is called inulin. There's another one called oligosaccharides, I think. A couple different forms of oligosaccharides, but these are basically just carbohydrates that are fibrous and they're non-digestible, and the good bacteria in our gut use them as a food source. So some foods in our diet that have prebiotics in them, bananas are quite known for having a lot of prebiotics in there, good for the gut.
Especially the green ones.
Especially the green ones?
Yep.
Like a little unripe?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Because then as the bananas ripen, those starches turn into more simple sugars. And I'd imagine those would be feeding like candida if those bananas get too sugary.
Mm-hmm.
So makes sense that more the greener, unriper ones. Nasty to eat, but you can throw them in a smoothie. So if you're making a smoothie or something, or baking with some bananas, making banana bread, try to maybe use one that's not so ripe. Garlic, onions, oats, asparagus, beans, all these foods have great sources of prebiotics that will help the gut microbiota. And then you can eat fermented foods, of course. Yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, miso, tempeh, aged cheeses. Nate, what's your favorite one?
I would probably say sauerkraut.
Oh, yeah.
That's the go-to. I used to think my grandpa was he'd get a hot dog and he'd just load that thing with mustard and sauerkraut. And when I was a kid, I was like, that's gross. Now I love it.
Yeah,
the way to
I'd
go.
agree.
How about you? What's your favorite go-to?
Sauerkraut for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, I like some kimchi. Kimchi's pretty solid. I'm not much of a kombucha person, to be honest.
I've heard some controversy on the kombucha is that most of it is made, I want to say this right. I think most of it is made with grains. And so the actual fermentation process isn't as great for your microbiome as something like sauerkraut or kimchi or even kefir.
Yeah, and a lot of kombuchas have added sugar.
It's
tough to find kombucha without sugar added.
Yeah.
But something on the fermented foods to note as well, particularly with yogurt, is that you'll see yogurt marketed as with probiotics and all this stuff. Yogurt actually does not have much in the way of probiotics, unless it's like extra fermented to have more probiotics. But usually if you look at the yogurt label, it'll say it only has like 500 million strains or 500 million CFUs, colony forming units.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not much. That's probably, one capsule of a moderate strength probiotic supplement would equal like a gallon of yogurt. So yogurt really doesn't have much in the way of probiotics. Kefir usually has more.
Okay.
So, but
yeah, I got to experiment with the kimchi a little bit more. I've only tried one brand and it was not a hit at my house. So I'll have to play around with that one.
Yeah, some are hit and miss. Probiotic supplements. Now, when looking for a probiotic supplement, you want one that has a wide array of both lacto strains and bifido strains. The lacto strains like Lactobacillus acidophilus, those more live in your stomach. Acidophilus means acid loving in Latin. So the Lactobacillus strains tend to live more in the acid of the stomach area. And the bifido strains more live kind of in your lower intestines and your colon. So when you get a probiotic supplement, make sure it has 10, 15, at least a wider array of strains. There's some, if you go into the big box supplement store, you'll see, I think Align is the one that comes to mind, but there's a couple of other big box brands of probiotics, and they only have like one strain, maybe two. and they're pretty weak. You want sort of a wide array of both lacto and bacillus strains, 10, 15, 20 total strains, and then the number on there. So I just referenced the CFU, colony forming units, earlier. So I shoot for like 20 to 30 billion per serving per capsule. The really strong ones are about 100 billion. And those are the ones that I would take after a round of antibiotics for about a week. I wouldn't take one that strong forever unless I had some serious digestive issue like C. diff or Crohn's or whatever I was trying to handle. But post-antibiotic, I would do one of those 100 billion or 50 billion probiotics for like a week, and then knock it down to a maintenance dose that's about 20, 30 billion, wide array of strains. Now, of course, we're talking supplements, so supplement whenever you need it or if your diet's not getting it. I take a greens powder that has a decent dose of probiotics in it a couple of times a week, and then juices, decent food. So I really don't take a probiotic supplement all that much, but if for whatever reason, diet suffering, I'm not feeling too good, whatever the case, then maybe I'll get a probiotic capsule to take, but just depends on your situation. Yeah, the whole probiotic thing it's a little complex. There's a lot to it when it comes to probiotic supplements. There was a lot to learn about that.
What do you think about, because I know that there's certain versions that require refrigeration versus ones that don't. Have you ever looked into the
damn good question? So it depends on how they manufacture it. You'll get doctors that say you need the refrigerator. Well, first of all, you'll get some doctors that don't even tell their patients to get probiotics after antibiotics, which is sad. And the ones that do, they'll say, get the refrigerated ones, as if the non-refrigerated ones don't work. That's not true. It purely depends on how they manufacture it. So if a company, it depends on the processing. They can process room temperature probiotics that are great and solid. And it depends. There's a lot to it, but
yeah,
it just depends on the product. I think I have right now in my cupboard a non-refrigerated one that has some SBOs, soil-based organisms in it, and it's fine. It's great. It does the job. The greens powder I have is room temperature, and they live in there. So I think it's like freeze-dry processing can stabilize them to be at room temperature, and yeah.
So maybe like post-antibiotic, you would want to possibly look at the refrigerated ones, as long as it's from a quality manufacturer, because there may be some probiotics that live inside of there that would not maybe survive inside of one that was at room temperature. So it'd give you a wider variety of strains. I don't know.
Yeah, possibility there. Also, the number on a probiotic, 50, 100 billion, that's at time of manufacturing. So that number will diminish as time goes on, refrigerated or not. So that's something to be aware of.
Yeah,
the 100 billion colony forming units is at time of manufacturing. And probiotics can live out of the fridge for a while. Used to have people come in that would buy refrigerated ones, and they were like, is this going to die on my way home? I have to go to the grocery store next or something. I'm not going to be home for an hour or two. It's like, you're fine. They can even live, they'll be fine even a day or two out of the fridge. So that's something to not be too concerned about. And then sleep, stress, exercise, play outside, I wrote in there, because as to your point earlier, getting into the soil and getting some of the good bacteria from the soil on your body, it's good for you.
Definitely.
Go make your kids play in the dirt. Now let's get into talking about the soil microbiome, man.
Okay.
Let's see. Factors impacting soil microbiome. Mass pesticide spraying and synthetic fertilizers, monocrop agriculture and excessive tillage impacts the lands and the nutrients, the bacteria in the soils that help those plants. Industrial chemical runoff and environmental toxicity, so all the microplastics, heavy metals, pharmaceutical runoff into our streams impacting soil microbiome, and then habitat degradation as well. All the deforestation, urbanization, ton of factors affect it.
Yeah.
So here is just a quick graphic on the soil microbiomes. So there are a lot of little rhizomes and little mini critters that there's this whole cycle of how they impact the nutrients, the uptake into the plants. They help the resilience of the plants. A good microbiome will also help to get rid of invasive species. When the microbiome in the soil suffers, then the plants and the environment itself can't fight off different bugs and beetles and whatnot that aren't supposed to be there or aren't usually there. So there's a lot. Plus you get fungus that grows through crops and everything. What'd you say there?
Oh, I just said kind of like our gut. It's the same.
Oh yeah,
same thing.
Totally. And then nutrient recycling as well. The nitrogens and the oxides that the plants uptake are impacted in large part by positive bacteria in the soils. Plant growth, promotion, and stress tolerance, pest and disease control, degradation of pollutants. Oh yeah, this is a point I don't know if we touched on, but good bacteria in the gut as well as good bacteria in the soil can help break down toxins and chemicals. So help break down heavy metals and things like that. Very important.
Definitely.
Very important. How to improve the soil microbiome, plant diversity in agricultural lands, and regenerative farming practices. So crop rotation, controlled animal grazing, practices like this with regenerative farming.
Is that Joel Salatin that's really pushing hard right now on regenerative farming?
Good. Introducing beneficial microbiomes, microbes via biofertilizers. So instead of the synthetic fertilizers, we could use kind of more natural organic-based biofertilizers that have good bacteria in them, like a probiotic for the crops. And if we limit pesticide and herbicide usage and stop over-tilling the soil as well and constantly disrupting the top foot or two of the soil and focusing on decreasing environmental pollutants that damage the biosphere.
Sounds like a good place to start.
Sounds like a good place.
When are you running, Jordan? Put all those things in place.
What's up?
When are you running for office? You got to put all those things in place.
Yeah. You're coming with me, right?
Let's do it.
MAHA, Montana. Monoculture agriculture leads to poor soil health, as per beyondpesticides.org. Recent data indicates that the U.S. Corn Belt has lost 35% of its topsoil. 18 years, like decades, of continuously growing corn, soy, and perennial grasses. Those are the subsidized crops. Those are the crops that farmers will get handouts to grow. And of course, with the giant biotech, big ag corporations, basically force the farmers to grow it. Grow your soy and corn every year, all the time, nothing else. And over time, crops suffer from that.
So it looks like the Corn Belt makes up almost 100 million acres.
Crazy.
That is a lot of topsoil gone.
Prior studies that utilize the long-term cropping system studied in the current paper indicate the regular use of 28% urea ammonium nitrate fertilizer, glyphosate, glufosinate, and atrazine. Isn't that the one that turns the frogs gay?
It is.
Just destroy soil health. strong propensity to harm soil health.
Who could have guessed?
A review on glyphosate published in 2017 found risks to soil that include the reduction of nutrient availability for plants and organisms, lower diversity. Diversity is a good thing when it comes to our soil. Okay. And reductions of beneficial soil bacteria, increases in plant root pathogens, disturbed earthworm activity, just so many things. So when it comes to Roundup, glyphosate, pesticides, it's not just the impact on our body. We've got all these farmers with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma fighting Monsanto right now, but it's also just destroying the land that it's sprayed on.
You know, I would love to know how many farmers today are aware of this, you know, because at this point, if they are not, they're just being ignorant.
Yep. Ignorant for sure. And then many other factors that accelerate soil nutrient loss. So there is science out there about it. It's just not the science that's promoted by the magazines and the institutions. And it's not the science that drives policy. The science that drives policy is the science that's funded by the corporations.
Yeah.
And all the other science is just quietly brushed under the rug. But hopefully that'll change. As we reported on last month, the USDA is launching a new regenerative pilot program to lower farmer production costs and advance MAHA agendas. They're looking at giving out $700 million in grants to help American farmers adopt practices that improve soil health, boost long-term productivity, and strengthen America's food and fiber supply. So that's a good thing.
Very cool.
And that's it. Episode 1 of MAHA Living in the books on the microbiome, my friends. Good stuff.
Yes, that is all very important. And it kind of goes back to what MAHA, or I guess RFK just came out and is saying is eat real food.
Yep.
Right.
And I think RFK just did a podcast a few days ago where he said that his favorite food, I think, was kimchi. Was it?
I didn't see that one.
And it's like he was saying his go-to that he just carries around with him all the time is kimchi. So.
So methylene blue and kimchi.
There you go, man. So appreciate all y'all for watching. Hopefully you got some good information, some helpful tips from this show, this episode. Let us know in the comments. And if you have any topics you'd like us to dive into, we'll be checking the comments. Give us some suggestions for featured episodes, and we'll be looking out. So MAHA Living every Wednesday here at 7 Eastern on Badlands. And then remember, MAHA News on Friday afternoons, 4 p.m. Eastern here on Badlands. MAHA News is our live show. MAHA Livings will be pre-recorded. Little more research in the MAHA Living shows, but we'll talk about topics all across the board, from hygiene products to diet to EMF radiation, exercise, and more. We're open for suggestions.
Yeah. All the things that equal you being healthy.
Exactly. And if you are healthier, then we are all healthier. So
cool.
Appreciate you guys watching. Like this video, subscribe here on Badlands, and we'll see you guys in a couple of days on Friday on MAHA News. Take care, everybody.
Get you some of that beard oil.
Now that I'm alone, got the close up. Do you see how awesome my beard looks right now?
I use the beard oil every single day. First thing. Comes out feeling all silky smooth. I take the dropper and I manually apply the oil directly to my mustache. Nice and, oh man, I love it. And then I do drops all throughout the hair, and then I just rub it all in. And then I top it off with the tallow stick on the face.
Dude, I feel like I have to grow a beard just to try this beard oil. It sounds
Do it, Jay.
amazing.
It's all from softdisclosure.com, and the best part about it is you'll be supporting Badlands Media, Annie from Willow and Farms, and basically 3 of Annie's neighbors. So that's 5 total American companies that you'd be supporting with one purchase.
I have been using the Soft Disclosure scentless beard oil every day after the shower. It looks unkempt, but it feels silky smooth. I want to look a little wild and unapproachable, but for the woman I trust, she'll be like, oh, it's actually kind of soft. He is approachable after all. Otherwise, stay away. And Soft Disclosure will help you too with that if that's the very specific vibe you're going for.
That is very specific, yes.
You guys are supporting American businesses when you do that. It's absolutely incredible, and you get a great, great product.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.